friend of the show, Bill Burr, on Rich Eisen, and he went basically on a 10-minute rant talking about how New England Patriots fans calling for Bill Belichick being fired, they just don't understand what it was like growing up watching the Patriots with Drew Bledsoe, what it was like before Bill Belichick and when he got there. And then he had Chris Brockman on the show. Even though Brockman was on the right path and he had some good points when he was talking about, well, maybe he's not the best GM. He started backpedaling him, and then Bill Burr kind of just ran him over, called him out for backpedaling, and then destroyed him in the exchange, even if you think he's wrong. Do you think there is some truth to boomers are still basking in the glow of the New England Patriots because they saw them suck for so long? Then Bill Belichick comes in for 2 decades, wins 6 Super Bowls with them, and then maybe just give him a chance, maybe not fire him as a head coach, but take away his GM privileges and then just allow him to operate freely as the head coach with a good roster? Or do you think Bill Belichick, it's just time for him to move on?
I think there's 2 sides to it. Absolutely. If you're going to keep Bill Belichick, do not make him the GM at this point. Do not sabotage Drake May or Caleb Williams, with the best receiver being Demario Douglas, the only wide receiver that can really get separation on this team. I think if you're going to keep Bill Belichick, please do not make him the GM. He's a horrible GM at this point. Head coaches cannot be both. But I do think that it's fair to have a head start and really just get a fresh start somewhere else. If I'm Belichick, do I want to go through another rebuild with this team and go through the grind of another 3 or 4 year rebuild with this potential franchise quarterback? Or do I want to go somewhere else where they already have the franchise quarterback? Maybe they have nice pieces on defense. That could be a team like the Cowboys. That could be a team like the Chargers, or hell, even the Commanders. Maybe they don't have the franchise guy, but at least they have some pieces somewhere. If I'm Bill Belichick, I'd rather prove it elsewhere and already get the franchise guy, because I think a place like LA would be a good fit for him if they want to rebuild that culture. But honestly, it's kind of a decision up to Kraft, and I can't really pick one side or the other. But if there's one thing I know for certain, he definitely needs to lose his GM abilities wherever he goes.
Yeah, I think just him losing the GM ability and then seeing if we can build a roster around him is fair enough. And then he was on the right point where he's like, yeah, he's whiffed on some draft picks and then trade away some capital when Tom Brady was here in order to win, get some defensive players. And then we had Gronkowski and Edelman on that team. So it's like he could have pushed back like, okay, we are past Brady now. We are at a point where we do need him to hit on draft picks. We can't just trade away assets. And then also without Tom Brady, you can't also not have any wide receivers around a young quarterback, and it's detrimental to their development, where we just had Tom Brady talking about with Stephen A. Smith saying how he thinks the head coaching and development in the NFL has been behind over the past few years. And then one of the people you can also point at with that is Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I think so too. One thing I will defend Bill Burr with is that Belichick, I know that you look at the records of the last few seasons and you think, wow, this team has been pretty average or below average at best. But the roster that he has brought to that level of success is a credit to Belichick in and of itself. The Cam Newton era, they finished 7-9, but there's about 2 or 3 wins in there that they missed out on, like the Bills fumble that ended up going their way. And then even with Mac Jones, they did make the playoffs with him. I believe they were 10-7 or 9-8 when that time came.
Yeah.
And then last year they had a couple of injuries that fell their way. So I think Bill Belichick is still a great head coach, but at the end of the day, he just doesn't have the same pulse on the NFL like he used to. If there's a way that you can bring in a GM that is maybe more offensive centric, you can go out and trade for a T. Higgins or go out and draft a wide receiver, God forbid, that's actually good. Then there we go. We can fix some of the issues that we might have. Patriots defensive players, they still hit on their defensive players. Josh Uche is a great fit for them. Christian Gonzalez has been a home run hit for them.
Yeah.
The short amount of time he played, he can sign the defensive players like a Matt Judon. So I trust the defensive side of the ball. It's just offensively, they need another mind in there.